Okay, so this is the last few minutes that I want to discuss of Chapter 2. The screen recorder that I use only lets me go up to 15 minutes at a time, so I had to do it in two separate files. Anyway, towards the end of Chapter 2, and you'll see I've kind of gone to a different view of the chapter so you can see more of the page at one time. So towards the end of Chapter 2, Victor goes on a very lengthy explanation about how his passions for this new world kind of science came to be, and how he started studying all of these sort of controversial philosophers and alchemists of the time, sort of like the ones that we learned about in the video that we watched in class. And so he's trying to give Walton background as to where this whole passion for studying this forbidden realm of science came from, that he's gonna that's gonna end up bringing his downfall later. So he at the end of the chapter, he then brings it back to kind of like, here's the reason why I need you to hear my story. And he tells him, when I look back, it seems to me as if this almost miraculous change of inclination and will was the immediate suggestion of the guardian angel of my life, the last effort made by the spirit of preservation to avert the storm that was even then hanging in the stars and ready to envelop me. Her victory was announced by an unusual tranquility and gladness of soul, which followed the relinquishing of my ancient and latterly tormenting studies. It was thus that I was to be taught to associate evil with their prosecution and happiness with their disregard. It was a strong effort of the spirit of good, but it was ineffectual. Destiny was too potent, and her immutable laws had decreed my utter and terrible destruction. Okay, so what he's talking about is, going back a couple pages, Victor tells Robert Walton about a thunderstorm he had witnessed back when he was younger, years and years before. And during this thunderstorm, he took note of the incredible power of nature, the power of lightning, the destructive sort of nature of the destructive force that nature has. And he talks about how he saw lightning hit a tree stump, and how he saw the tree stump split into two, and what lightning did to destroy it right before him. And he was fascinated by this. And so that kind of became the first notion of about what nature had in its possibilities. And so it kind of points us to later how he ends up using electricity and using the powers of nature to try to create this being that he later creates. I'm trying to find here it is, the paragraph where he discusses that, when he was 15 years old. So, anyway, but my point is, the end of the chapter, he says that at that moment, he realized how destructive and powerful nature could be. And it kind of taught him a little temporary lesson, like, maybe I shouldn't be traveling down this road. Maybe nature is not something I want to tamper with. And he says, if only I had listened to my inner self telling me that I should sort of abandon these studies. And the temporary warning that nature gave him, that he kind of references as the guardian angel of his life, and the last effort to preserve to avert the storm that was coming in his life. He says, I ignored my intuition. I ignored the warning, and I went ahead with my curiosities, and it brought me later destruction. And he says that at the end of the chapter. The effort of nature to try and warn me by me witnessing that was the sort of the foreshadowing of my utter destruction later. So ultimately, Victor is telling Robert Walton, listen, I had some strong warnings and some signs when I was much younger. I didn't listen. And here I am now telling you that I'm suffering consequences because of it. So he's trying to tell Robert Walton, I see you going down the same path. Please listen to your intuition and don't go down this destructive path that you may be taking and all the dangers that come with it. So that's about it for chapter 2.